Greater is better. That is the rationale our species appears to work on, regardless of whether it's the Saudi royal family in their kilometer-high Kingdom Tower or China attempting to fabricate a dam so large it will in a real sense moderate the turn of the Earth. Be that as it may, it's one thing to think ambitiously and very another to put resources into superstructures so huge they resist all sense, rationale, and reason. We revealed to you as of late around 10 engineering ponders considered excessively unreasonable to at any point construct. Here are 10 tasks even less reasonable that they haven't exactly abandoned at this point. 10. The Chinese supercity bigger than many countries. With a land surface zone of 790 square kilometers, 305 square miles, and a metropolitan region populace of more than 20 million, New York is viewed as probably the biggest city on Earth. Jing-Jin-Ji in China giggles even with such irrelevant numbers. An arranged venture to connect Beijing, Tianjin, and Hebei, Jing-Jin-Ji is a play on their Chinese names, into one Goliath megacity. It would house roughly 130 million individuals and be greater than almost a large portion of the world's nations. Everything about the task is colossal. At an expected size of 212,000 square kilometers, 82,000 square miles, Jing-Jin-Ji will be about the size of Kansas. Or on the other hand, to put it another way, it will cover a bigger surface zone and house a greater number of individuals than Austria and Greece consolidated. It will likewise require an exceptional measure of preparation. President Xi Jinping has pronounced that every city inside Jing-Jin-Ji will have an uncommon part, with Beijing turning into its social and tech region, while Tianjin will be given to assembling. Hebei will hoover up the leftover more modest enterprises. High-velocity rail networks are now being worked to connect every one of these pieces of the supercity in less than 60 minutes. In spite of the fact that it seems like sci-fi, Jing-Jin-Ji is well headed to turning out to be actuality. Work began in 2013. By 2020, the high-velocity railroads should as of now be set up. How far this behemoth will develop past that point is impossible to say. 9. The San Francisco-Los Angeles Hyperloop. LA to San Fran in 35 minutes? Hyperloop CEO says SpeedTube could become reality. Before he got renowned for attempting to without any help vanquish space, very rich person CEO Elon Musk was causing a ripple effect with his proposition for a Hyperloop. An arrangement of compressed cylinders that would drive workers between San Francisco and Los Angeles at super high paces. The thought was at first excused as incomprehensible. Reality would tend to disagree. In May 2015, a Californian transportation organization got the thumbs up to begin constructing the world's first Hyperloop test track. In spite of the fact that it's in its initial days yet, the objective is totally to get a track introduced between the two urban areas soon. The organization has effectively arrived at an arrangement with landowners along Interstate 5 to begin development, and fruitful tests could bring about the thing really being assembled. That would change travel. Moving at simply under the speed of sound, the Hyperloop would have the option to get you from Los Angeles to San Francisco in a short time. For our European perusers, that resembles getting from Prague to Strasbourg in less time than your lunch typically takes. Development on the test track starts in 2016. In the event that it gets the thumbs up, the LASF Hyperloop could be prepared by as ahead of schedule as 2025. 8. Nicaragua's continent-slicing canal. At 77 kilometers, 48 miles, long, the Panama Canal stays one of the best designing accomplishments ever. However, the mainland-slicing waterway could be going to lose its crown. In 2014, work started to assemble a channel multiple times longer than Panama's and over twice as profound. Costing around $50 billion, the venture would see laborers develop a stream that would cut Nicaragua 50-50. The brainchild of Chinese telecom tycoon Wang Jing, the Nicaragua Canal will require the expulsion of more than 4.5 billion cubic meters, 160 billion cubic feet of earth. As The Guardian put it, that is sufficient to cover the whole island of Manhattan up to the 21st floor of the Empire State Building. It will likewise totally overturn the Central American country's biological system. Plans show the trench demolishing through 4 separate nature parks, 2 across the biggest freshwater lake in the area, Lake Nicaragua. Since the lake's common profundity of 14 meters, 45 feet, is just a large portion of what's required, This will include dynamiting the lakebed until a 100-kilometer, 65 miles channel can be cut through it. Crazy as this is, there's another, considerably crazier perspective to the channel. Nobody needs it. The Chinese government is concerned it will strain relations with the US, Nicaraguans are stressed it'll obliterate their country, and delivery organizations are stressed it'll be mismatched to their necessities. However, it's going on. The most idealistic projections guarantee the main boat could cross the waterway by 2019. 7. Tunisia's gigantic solar farm. Photograph credit. Alexei Krapukhin. The measure of energy the sun siphons into the Sahara is unbelievable. Outfitting a simple 0.3% of it is sufficient to control Europe for a whole year. Energy organization Newer Power is proposing we do exactly that. In a proposition set forward toward the finish of 2014, they illustrated plans to assemble a 100 square kilometer, 40 square miles, sun-oriented homestead in Tunisia by 2018. The arrangement includes dissipating a great many PC-controlled sun-oriented cells across a zone of land around multiple times the size of Macau. These cells would then be utilized to superheat a focal pinnacle, making steam that would turn a turbine, producing power. This would then be gone through a 450-kilometer, 280 miles, submerged link to a substation in Italy and, from that point, away into Europe. As indicated by the independent paper, the homestead could control up to 2.5 million homes in Britain alone. Despite the fact that it seems as though high dream, the arrangement is now in progress. The British government has communicated interest, and Newer Power is expecting to get more nations locally available. Notwithstanding, with the security circumstance in Tunisia being what it will be, it very well may be some time yet before development really starts. 6. The Netherlands artificial mountain. With its liberal sex and medication laws, long future, and fantastic lager, it tends to be enticing to think the Netherlands has everything. Dutch columnist Thijs Zonneveld opposes this idea. In 2011, he pronounced the one thing his low-lying nation required was a mountain. Furthermore, he planned to make it his life's main goal to guarantee it got one. It helped that the Netherlands is no more peculiar to ridiculous designing tasks. The area of Flevoland, close to Amsterdam, was made in 1932 when Cornelis Lely depleted piece of the Zuiderzee, extending the country by a few thousand square kilometers. Contrasted with this and other crazy land recovery projects recently attempted by the Dutch, a mountain would be simple. In spite of the fact that it was proposed predominantly as a joke, Zonneveld's thought got the public's creative mind, to such an extent that the columnist chose to truly do it. While development has still to begin as of mid-2015, Zonneveld is submitted completely to the undertaking. His authority site for the mountain guarantees his group has spoken with a large number of organizations, enlisted lenders, and discovered arranging authorization. They say they even verged on building a model recently. He keeps up that his mountain will be constructed at some point in the decade. 5. Saudi Arabia's monster hotels at Mecca. Saudi Arabia builds world's largest hotel, Abraj Khudai. For as far back as couple of years, Saudi Arabia has been caught up with transforming the old city of Mecca into the Las Vegas of the Middle East. The zenith of this change likely could be the forthcoming Abraj Khudai. Actually an extravagance, 5-star lodging that will linger over the sacred city. The Abraj Khudai is large to such an extent that it more takes after a vertical city-state, where each resident will be an insured tycoon. It will stand 45 stories tall, and everything about the inn shouts profane abundance. The highest level will house one of the biggest Islamic arches on the planet, encircled by 4 helipads for the super-rich to arrive on. At any rate, 5 stories will be held for the selective utilization of the Al Saud illustrious family. The remainder of the structure, in the meantime, will contain around 10,000 rooms and more than 70 posh eateries. Far beneath, on the ground floors, a huge shopping center will compete for space with a gathering community and an extravagant dance hall. As far as anyone knows, intended to take after a customary desert post, this beast of a structure will cost at any rate £2.3 billion. Albeit the Abraj Khudai will be the greatest inn on the planet when it opens in 2017, it fails to measure up to other Mecca projects. An assortment of enormous lodgings in the west of the city known as the Jabal Omar Advancement is planned to house 100,000 explorers, while the Grand Mosque is to be moved up to house 7 million individuals at any one time. Unexpectedly, this would extend so far back that numerous admirers wouldn't have the option to see the Kaaba they'd come this approach to venerate. 4. China's vertical mega-city. The future is China. Chongqing, China. The mega-city Chongqing-Shi. Presently, how about we set our sights past that one huge lodging? Envision remaining at the base of a structure so gigantic, so independent, thus abounding with life that it really qualified as a city. At the present time, arrangements are in progress for developing such a science fiction wonder in the Chinese city of Shenzhen, a flourishing city on the Pearl River Delta. Known as Cloud Citizen, the completed the process of building would contain 3 interlocking pinnacles, the tallest a couple hundred feet more limited than Dubai's enormous Burj Khalifa. At around 2 square kilometers, 1 square mile, its surface zone would be just marginally more modest than the entirety of Monaco. However, it's what's inside that would truly shake metropolitan plan up. Instead of simply being a supermassive office block, Cloud Citizen is intended to work as an independent city inside a city. Close by homes and workplaces, the superstructure would contain ranches, parkland, food creation focuses, and the way to gather water. It would likewise control itself utilizing a mix of wind, sun-oriented, and green growth, viably permitting it to exist independently from Shenzhen legitimate. Astonishingly, for a particularly metropolitan structure, the emphasis would be on green spaces and parkland, with suburbanites urged to stroll to work through high-elevation sky parks. Despite the fact that there are no solid intents to begin development yet, Cloud Citizen is being treated appropriately by the nearby government. It as of late won a city-supported plan rivalry, and authorities are looking into seeing the venture figured it out. 3. India's gigantic smart cities. Dholera, Sir. It seems like a Silicon Valley dream. A city where everything is associated with the internet and a headquarters place carefully interfaces each resident. However, this inactive fantasy may before long be a reality, and not in California. Known as Dholera, it's one of the Indian government's colossal new framework projects that could be prepared inside 10 years. Part of the wonderfully aspiring Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor, a $90 billion plan to interface the 2 most significant urban areas on the subcontinent, Dholera would be the gem in the undertaking's crown. Worked without any preparation on recovered land, it would be large, amazing, and incredibly innovative. Computerized group and traffic light would focus on no jams, no contamination, no hordes of individuals arranging at terminals, no soil, and no littering. Each house would be wired up to the internet, a shocking accomplishment in a nation where, in 2013, just 3% of homes had any internet access. Dholera's other draw is its size. Intended to adapt to India's steadily extending populace, the city would be twice just about as large as Mumbai, or around multiple times the size of Malta. Much more stunningly, Dholera is only a glimpse of something larger. In the event that the venture falls off, and the public authority is pushing ahead, regardless of genuine difficulties, there are plans to assemble another 23 shrewd urban communities similarly as noteworthy across the district. 2. Azerbaijan's artificial archipelago. In China and India, they assemble new supercities. In the Netherlands, they assemble new mountains. In Azerbaijan, they fabricate new nations. In the waters off the bank of Baku, on the Caspian Sea, entire mountains of rocks are being poured in to make another archipelago. Known as the Hazar Islands, the new land will resemble a country inside its own right. Comprising of 55 separate islands, the archipelago will have its own air terminal, yacht club, Formula One track, and a 800,000 in number populace packed into its great many loft blocks. More amazing still, the biggest island will likewise be home to Azerbaijan Tower, anticipated to be perhaps the tallest structure on Earth. In 2013, it was assessed to cost $100 billion, fundamentally higher than the country's whole GDP. The thought came to very rich person finance manager Ibrahim Ibrahimov on a trip back from Dubai in 2010. Without a notepad, he drew his plans on some tissue paper and advised draftsmen to construct them precisely as he'd drawn them. Insanely, they concurred. At season of composing, the Hazar Islands are well in progress, with in any event one mountain previously leveled to give rocks to their establishments. 1. China's new Silk Road. What is the One Belt One Road activity? Extending from Venice in Europe completely through Central Asia to the uttermost edges of China, the Silk Road was before the best exchanging course on Earth. Unbelievable amounts of cash moved along its pathways, alongside exiles, religions, and Eastern culture. In only a couple brief years, they may do so once more. The Chinese government is resolved to bring the Silk Road careering into the 21st century. Referred to tenderly as the One Belt, One Road plan. The thought is to consolidate another overland exchanging course with a costly new oceanic one, through streets, railroads, and pipelines. At the point when completed, the street will give China a tough passage of force and impact extending right from its focal city Xi'an to Moscow and Rotterdam. That is more than 10,000 kilometers, 6,000 miles, of Chinese strength, an essentially longer distance than from New York to Buenos Aires. However, the undertaking wouldn't stop there. Beside connecting China, India, and Russia together into the main financial hall on Earth, the other portion of the arrangement would see seaside tasks and ports interfacing China with the remainder of Asia and surprisingly East Africa. In actuality, it would spread Chinese impact out across a large portion of the advanced world. It's been portrayed as a greater venture than the Marshall Plan, and the impacts would be world-evolving. The craziest part? This beast undertaking could be well in progress by 2020.